All right, so here's the promise. Number one, I want to make sure that you know how to stop bad habits if you have any. I want to show you how you can stick to goals that matter to you so that you can start achieving more. And for those of you that have not met me before or don't know anything about Colin Hiles, real quick, I'm an executive coach and advisor to individuals running some of the biggest businesses in the UK. I am a certified brain geek, right? So this little blob here, which represents the brain, is something I'm fascinated in, and brain sciences. I'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm a terrible surfer, but I love it. But I'm a brilliant tea maker, seeing as our family are from South London, and tea is the medicine that cures all ills. And as an executive coach, I have a very unusual value proposition. That's no growth, no pay. So when I start working with, somebody, usually C-suite, and what this basically means is I'm not going to be paid for a year. And I'm only going to be paid on a result. So that result is they need to be a better leader. They need to have changed and improved in the eyes of people around them. So what that means is I put my professional reputation on the line every time I start working with somebody. And what that means to you is I know a thing or two about how to get behavioral change. Otherwise, I wouldn't get paid. So everything I share with you is tested and validated many, many times. And that's how I know that I can not be paid for a year and get some sort of behavioral change. Now, you saw what was on the sort of the flyer, if you like, and hopefully this, thank you very much for that. Hopefully this is what resonated with you. So we're going to get into what's really holding you back. We're going to look at some unconscious assumptions. I had them. So many people that I work with have them, and we're going to look at how to get them out the way to make sure that we don't get in our own way when we're trying to change our behaviors. So we're going to look at some science, some of the things that's not shared very often by so-called gurus that are out there. And I really want you to be able to take control of that future identity, because when we set a goal to achieve something, we are in effect saying, I want to be that person because I need to be that person to achieve the goal. So when I start working with somebody, we decide, in a year's time, who do you want to be in a year's time? And then we work over the course of the year to become that person. And that person is a better person in the eyes of key people around them. Now, I am going to give you a chance to work with me. So I'm going to make an offer at the end of this masterclass, and I'm pretty excited about it because already it's proven to have helped many, many people change bad habits for good. But look, whether you go for the offer or not, irrelevant. What matters is that you get massive value from your time here today. And that's why I say, make sure that you have a pen and got some paper and think a little bit about some of the things that we get into here, because they're subtleties of this brain of ours that we can easily miss, and lots of people miss. In fact, there's a question that I'd say people often don't ask, that they need to ask when it comes to changing behaviors. And that's what we're going to get into here. Now, first, I want to make sure you're in the right place. All right. And I'm going to give you a personal story, which I know some of you know of, where I fell foul to this myself. But, you set some goals, you're quite excited, you're quite inspired. There's some things you want to achieve. There's some things that you want to do, and they're meaningful to you. And you, to begin with, motivation is high. You stick to the things that you need to be doing, and you make it happen initially. And then, it's like, this is it. I'm going to do it this time. This is going to be it. And then all of a sudden, you start that relapse. All of a sudden, you don't do it for a day. Then you don't do it for 2 days. And you don't do it for 3 days. And then it's hard to get back again. Then we're back into our old ways again. But this sort of cycle fires back up again when the pain of the behavior we want to change gets so big and so intolerable, and then we fire ourselves up again, and away we go again, full on, full gusto, full beast mode, only to have the same pattern repeat itself. Now, give me a yes in the chat box if you recognize that pattern, you've experienced that pattern. The problem with this pattern, this vicious cycle, as I call it is actually one of the biggest causes of lack of self-confidence and self-belief, because we make a promise, we don't fulfill the promise. And so we start to doubt, we start to create some limiting beliefs about our ability to do it. And constant failure and crushing disappointment are two significant demotivational factors. And eventually you begin to believe that you have no other options. Fighting it's not going to make any difference, and then you give up, and then your goals move into the background, and before you know it, you're back to where you started. Now, let me share a personal story, right? This is what I call my overfat struggle. So when it came to getting myself fit, I knew what I needed to do, right? Eat better and move more. Very simple. I think most people would know that. That's what it's going to come down to. But I was finding it harder and harder and harder to remain consistent. And I could get going, but I just could not keep going. And here's kind of the proof, if you like, because I have tracked my weight over the course of a long period of time. And this is a 10 years, you can see here, 2009, 2019. And you can see this typical yo-yo dieter malarkey, full on, lose a few pounds, and then all of a sudden it all comes back on again. And then I'm back to square. And then all of a sudden I'm back on again, and then I'm not. And I don't know, you might have heard this saying that's out there, but if you're going to go hunting, don't trust advice from a starving man. But I felt like a fraud, and I felt like a hypocrite, because here I am talking about, behavior and beliefs and goal setting and all these things, but I could not pull this one off myself. I could not remain consistent myself. So I jumped into a lot of the behavioral science. So I started to really understand this brain of ours that I've just showed you here. And I'm wanting to look at it from a science point of view. So behavioral economics, Daniel Kahneman's work, thinking fast, thinking slow, neuroscience, social science, habit formation, nudge theory, cognitive science. I read peer review journals, research papers, really looking for the answers. And bit by bit, using behavioral science, I began to get control of my Achilles heel, which was sugar addiction. That was really what it boiled down to. I could not get myself over the need for sugar. And so I also realized, by the way, whilst I'm on this, but my goodness me, there's a lot of bad information and outdated information out there about how to change yourself. And it's almost like, pop psychology takes us this way, but science takes us this way. And so I tend to look at the science and try to understand the science. And look, there's a lot of well-meaning individuals out there, but that advice just sets us up to fail at the end of the day. So over a course of a period of time, I was able to get myself back in shape. I lost 2.5 stone, 35 pounds. I got myself down to 12% body fat. I gained muscle all over. I lost 4 inches off of my waist. I saw my abs again I hadn't seen since my teens, and I've stayed that way in. Plus, I've using what I'm going to share with you, I've built a strong morning routine. I'm sleeping better. I'm more productive. Meditation, list goes on and on and on and on. So that's my story to just back up that I know a little bit about this. And that's when I decided, well, can I help individuals change and not be paid for a year? Can I push science to its absolute max to see, can I get this result, even though I'm blind, even though I'm not with them, and even though I'm going to work with them over a long period of time, can I still get that? And of course, that's how I built my brand. So what I want to cover with you here is how you can do the same without fighting poor willpower, because it's a bad strategy to use it, and without dealing with what I call motivational outages, where the motivation's there and then it's gone. And I had this little discovery, actually, which I've put into this little image here, that at the surface level, we've all got a number of goals: losing weight, committing to exercise, stopping smoking, or gambling, or saving money, or learning a new skill, or starting a business. I mean, the list is vast. But when you boil it all the way down, what pops out the very bottom here is that you've got to know how to change behaviors. You've got to know how to change your habits. That's what it boils down to. So it doesn't matter what's across the top. We can all be different, but actually what it boils down to is you've got to be able to change your habits. And so as you can see here, they all lead to habit change. And I would say over the God knows how many years I've been doing this, the single most important thing I've learned, and it has been the most helpful, without hesitation, hands down, is learning how to change habits. And that's what we want to get into. Now, habits. Our personal and professional life are really the sum of all of our habits. And Studies show that about 45%, and I know some of you on here and you know this because we've talked about this, about 45% of our day-to-day are these repetitive behavior, these habits and routines, which don't require a lot of thinking on our part. Now, that's a lot of time we're on autopilot throughout the day when you think about it. Nearly half the day we're sleepwalking, if you like. And here's a bold truth. We don't choose our future, our habits do. And so if we want a different future, we've got to be able to build or break bad habits and build new habits. Now, I'd like to hear from you now. Okay, now it's your turn. So in the chat box, I'd like you to fill in this. If I had more willpower, I would behavior because I want to achieve what goal. So let me give you some examples. If I had more willpower, I'd run 3 times a week because I want to get fit. If I had more willpower, I wouldn't look at my smartphone when I'm at home with the family because I want to stay focused and present. If I had more willpower, I'd get out of bed immediately. The alarm goes off because I want to win the morning, so I win the day. All right. So what's yours, right? What is yours? Okay. You don't have to give me the goal if you don't want to, but just give me the behavior, the routine, or the habit that you would really like to nail, okay? Because I want to show you how to do it. So it's important to be clear on the behavior, the goal. The goal needs to be, we talk about SMART goals. I'm not a big fan of SMART goals, but I'm a big fan because science doesn't back up some of the letters that are in there. But specific, yes. Measurable, yes. Time-bound, sometimes, okay? Sometimes. Like you can't have a time-bound goal as to when you're going to find a girlfriend. I want to find a girlfriend by next Tuesday. Well, good luck. Kind of not the way it works. So, but certainly specific and certainly measurable is really important. That's why I'm pushing some of you. You want to go out more. How many times more? 3 times a week. Great. Now we can measure it. Okay. It really helps if you can measure. Because I have a little saying, and that is measure today for motivation tomorrow. When you can measure, you'll find that you'll be more motivated. This is the lens I'd like you to have a look at what we're going to get into. I want you to think about your habit, the thing that you want to do, because it'll help you achieve your goal through the lens of these 3 subconscious beliefs that get in the way. All right. Because what I want to show you is a proven, reliable system that will get you your habit goals. Right. That's absolutely, because otherwise I don't get paid unless. So I know that it absolutely works. Now, I love this quote, right? The formula for success is 2% talent, 8% luck, and 90% showing up every day, right? Jeffrey Fry, showing up every day. So I have a little Post-it note. Hopefully you can see this on this very, very small screen here, but this is up in front of me. You can see that the box represents action. And then you can see that the more action I do, the more it gets filled up with black. That's results. So consistency is really everything. Now, what does science say? Well, the science says, and this is some cold, hard science, and boy, this one gets misquoted a lot out there, 21 days to break a habit. Really? Where have you got that from? So anywhere between 18 and 254 days until a behavior feels automatic. So around 66 days on average. So now it does depend. The reason why it's such a big span is because it does depend on the habit, the person, and the environment. I mean, drinking a glass of water every morning when you're on vacation or holiday is easier than meditating for an hour after lunch. So it depends, right? It really depends. But I've got a but in here. There is one factor that really shortens the amount of time it takes for a behavior to become automatic, and that is getting in more repetitions, right? That's really the difference. The more times we can repeat a behavior, the quicker it becomes unconscious. If I can do it every day, it's going to become unconscious so much quicker than if I can do it 3 times a week or once a week. And that is, I think, a much better thing to focus on than, well, how many days is it going to take me? Well, how many reps can you do a day, right? Because the more reps you can do, the better. So that's why I'm all in favor of things we do every day. You make changes to your everyday routines and behaviors, that's going to become habitual so much quicker. So consistency equals successful results. Consistency is your friend. Repetition is your friend. Continuity is your friend. And the bottom line is consistency is paramount. But there's our problem, right? We struggle to be consistent. We start well and then we very quickly quit. Not all of the time, but some of the time. So why do we do it? Well, here's what I found as a coach, and found them from my own experience, i.e. they were inside my head, let alone from my clients. But 3 limiting beliefs or cognitive distortions. And this is the question that's a good question to ask yourself. Do I have any limiting beliefs or cognitive distortions that might be hindering my progress? Do I have any? Most people don't ask that question. They don't explore what's actually going on in that sort of subconscious area of what makes us us. So our time now is to look at 3 beliefs in the time that we've got and see which one of these beliefs are getting in the way for you. But more importantly, let me give you a solution. Let me give you a tool, a strategy, or a solution to overcome each of these unconscious beliefs that are hindering habit formation. Because it's these 3 habits that create what I like to call habit suicide. Habit suicide. And habit suicide is that what we typically experience when we get going and then we stop, right? It's like habit suicide. So recognizing and addressing these mental barriers can and does improve the likelihood of a successful habit change. So let's look at how we can address them. Now, get your chat box ready. How much control do you believe you have over your own behavior? And I'd like you to use a score of 1 to 10. So 10 high, 1 low. Okay, 10 high, 1 low. In the chat box, how much control do you believe you have over your behavior? When I ask this of my clients anyway, the typical answer is sort of that, is 8, right? That's the typical answer. It's around that, right? Now, think about it. So here's my next question. So imagine it's you and me, glass of wine or a beer or a coffee, no one else around. And I go, so your name, how much control do you believe have over your behavior? And you say, well, 10, 7, 8, 9, right? Well, my next question to you is an obvious question, isn't it? Well, if you have that much control, why do you keep committing habit suicide? And at this point, you go, I don't like you now, Colin. All right, I don't like you. I did like you, but I don't like you now. See, it's interesting, isn't it? If we really have that much control, why is it then we can't control our behavior? Why is it then we can't go, right, I'm going to exercise 3 times a week and it's a done deal. That's it, right? Because if you had that much control, surely you'd be able to, all right? Now, the first mindset here is too much self-confidence. And this subconscious assumption here basically ensures your efforts to change your behavior rely primarily on willpower alone. And it doesn't work. Underline. Because here's what the science says, right? And if you look, you go to the science and you'll see that maybe we don't have. Now, it's a scientific fact that our minds are easily swayed by often unseen external factors. Look, let me give you a quick example. We're all sat around the table. We've just had a meal, okay? And I'm quite excited about the dessert, okay? And so I'm definitely going to have a dessert. I love the desserts. I want to have a dessert. So when the waiter or waitress comes over with the menu and I look at it, and I go, oh, I can't wait. And then I've got 8 people. I'm not having a dessert. 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 Now, what's the chances of me having a dessert all on my own now, making everyone else wait? Well, it's probably not going to happen. That's peer pressure. Now, switch it. I'm on a diet. I'm definitely going to have a dessert tonight. No desserts for me tonight. Nope. No. Waiter comes over, waitress comes over, hands everyone a menu, and everyone starts getting excited about the desserts. And I say, I'm not having one. And everyone, what do you mean you're not having one? Oh, come on, Colin, for goodness sake. We're celebrating Derek's birthday, for goodness sake. Come on, just have a little one. Oh, all right, I'll have one then. Peer pressure. You can't see peer pressure, but it was in action right there. See, our minds are swayed often by the people that we spend a lot of time with. 70 years of social science shows that factor, that most of what we do is based on what other people do. Our decisions are largely influenced by what's around us, and these are called by behavioral scientists contextual factors. What's the contextual factor? Because it's the contextual factor that often causes us to behave the way that we behave. Now, this belief that we've got, right? If we have this belief, I've got that much control. Well, what it does is it sets us up to fall into what I call the "it must be me" trap. Okay. See, if I think I've got that much control, then I'm going to rely on willpower. And when it doesn't work, I blame me, because where else can I look? I can't look at anything that I can't see. I can't see peer pressure. So I don't know that that's there. And so, well, it must be me. It must be me, obviously. I don't have something inside me. I don't have enough self-control. I don't have enough willpower. I don't have enough motivation. I don't have enough of this thing. And that is the problem. So then we go searching for ways to get more of enough of whatever this thing is. And look, here's some research here, 2 sources here, right? Research has shown that overconfidence in self-control can lead to increased vulnerability to temptations, as people that believe they have that much self-control are more likely to put themselves in situations where they'll be tempted to do the behavior. See, so, you know, I want to stop drinking, but I spend time with people that drink. I want to stop smoking, but I spend time with people that smoke. And all of a sudden I think, no, I can control it. I can control it. And it's interesting, isn't it, how overconfidence and self-control can paradoxically make us more vulnerable to succumbing to our temptations. So we got to be careful here, right? We got to be careful that we are setting ourselves up to fail simply because we believe we've got enough self-control, when clearly so much of our past has shown that we fundamentally don't. Now, the second problem with this belief is it blinds us to the powerful forces of influence that are in our environment, that are shaping our moment-to-moment choices. And I love this quote here by Alexandre Duhur. When a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which the flower grows, not the flower. Isn't that so true? I mean, for me, it instantly shifts our perspective. It identifies where we should put our focus when we're struggling to grow a new habit. In that context, the quote could be rewritten as, when I'm not blooming, I need to fix the environment in which I'm growing, not me. And then in that way, it's such a powerful and profound message, so different to so many of the other messages that are out there. And so, you know, what I have on one of my little post-it notes here is, to change me, I change what surrounds me. Now, most of the time we don't think about that, because in between where we are and where we need to get to, obviously motivation kicks us off, but there's this box called the environment. And without us realizing it, the environment can be working against us. And so we rely on willpower, and environment trumps willpower hands down. So what we do is we make what's hard harder. You know, you want to improve your diet, but your house is full of unhealthy snacks. You want to quit smoking, but your friends and family all smoke. You want to start saving money, but you have social media apps on your phone that keep bombarding you with promotional notifications. You want to cut back on your drinking, but your friends love to drink and party. You want to get up early, but your Netflix binge is keeping you up late. And so when you look at the green arrows, that represents an optimized environment. That represents an environment that is making it easy to do the behavior that we want to do. Whereas the red represents an environment that's working against us. It's a bit like saying, I want to stop eating donuts, but I sit in a donut shop every single day, watching people eating donuts, smelling the donuts, seeing the donuts. At some point, I'm going to succumb to a donut, because the environment is such a difficult environment to not do the behavior. I'm being triggered left, right, and center to have a donut. And so what we want to do, first strategy, is rather than relying on willpower, what we want to do is optimize our environment to make it easy to do the behavior that we want to do, rather than making it harder. And this then means that we don't need too much motivation or willpower in which to keep the behavior consistent. And look, and I'm shouting at you in a very loving way, because a lot of self-help keeps us trapped. You are not weak, you are not lazy, and you're not broken, but you are blind to a lot of the influencing factors that are in your environment. So strategy number 1 is make sure that you optimize your environment rather than relying on willpower. Make it as easy as possible to do the behavior as you possibly can. So take that habit that you've got. Think of, what ways could I make it easier to do this? What ways could I make it easy? What ways could I make it fun? Because easy and fun gets done. So thinking that way means that you've got more chance of keeping going when the motivation isn't there, because it's easy to do, because the environment is set up. All right, so that's as much as I want to cover on that one there. Now let's look at the second one. This is what I call the go big or go home. Now, have you ever gone into full beast mode and then try to change everything overnight? I'm going to change my diet. I'm going to exercise 4 times or 5 times a week, only then because that works rarely, because it's not realistic and it's not sustainable. And we end up beating ourselves up. Once again, we fall back into the "it must be me" trap. Well, it must be me back in there again. Now, this subconscious assumption causes you to bite off more than you can chew, which causes you to set unrealistic expectations, which just simply aren't sustainable. So when building habits, right, intensity is the wrong approach. Consistency is the correct approach. And this reminds me of that wonderful Bruce Lee quote: "Long-time consistency beats short-term intensity." Such a great message when it comes to habits. So rather than adopting the go big or go home, we want to adopt the go micro and grow incrementally. That's what we want to do here. And so we want to find ways to make the action that we want to do so tiny that it's easy to do. And the way to go is micro. This is really what we want to do here. So let me give you some examples of some micro goals so you can see how this works. So let's say that someone has a goal to lose 20 pounds in 6 months. What's a micro habit? Well, replace 1 sugary drink with water each day. Let's say someone's goal is to run a marathon under 4 hours within a year. Well, a micro habit could be add 10 minutes of running to your daily routine. Over the course of 5-6 weeks, you could get that up very gradually, but start off with 10 minutes. Ultimate goal, meditate for 20 minutes for 30 days consecutively. Micro habits, start with 2 minutes of meditation daily, and then gradually. Now, as Darren Hardy says in his book, Compound Effect, consistent daily action leads to growth and life-changing results. It comes back to that consistency again that I put up on this little post-it note here. Being consistent is everything. And it's much easier to take the micro approach because then we don't have internal resistance getting in the way. And what we then do is we choose, rather than choosing motivation, which is fickle, some reliable, some unsustainable, you focus on building momentum to build good habits. And once you get that good habit rolling, then it automatically grows from there and carries you where you want to go. So I have another one of my little post-it notes here. I'll put it up here. I hope you can see that. Momentum gets me over the line every time. How quickly can I get into momentum? Now it's not about motivation. It's the momentum that's going to take me there. And the easiest way to do that is to start tiny. What about inspiration and desire? Yeah, Andy, they're key, okay? But I want you to, once again, think, have you had inspiration? Have you had desire before and it hasn't been enough? Even though it was there at the beginning, it wasn't enough to see you to follow through. If it is, fabulous. If it isn't, we need to find other strategies that make it easier to keep going. And this is just one of them. All right. So I'm not saying that it's not important. With the program that I'm going to be sharing about, we talk a lot about why power and white hot why. So we do need it, but we need more than that more often than not. It's often not enough to see us through the difficult times, the knockbacks, the setbacks, often the environments that we put ourselves in. I can sit there and have a lot of desire not to eat a donut, but if I'm sat around people eating donuts and I'm in a donut shop and all I can smell is donuts, all I can see is donuts, and everyone's going, these are delicious, do you want to buy it? It's going to be so much time if I like donuts, where I go, oh, okay, I'll just have a little bite. So 99 times I could have said no, but if I say yes, I just succumbed. And that's why what we're trying to do here, it's a great question, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to create the systems, what I call motivational systems, that enable us to keep going even when we don't want to. So it's a good one to have. Okay, here's the last one then, what I call the all or nothing thinking. This is black-white thinking. And boy, oh boy, did I succumb to this one when I was trying to lose fat. This subconscious assumption assumes that if you can't fully commit to the habit, it's not worth trying. And so, curveballs. I mean, how many of you can relate to, and you might not relate to these specifically, but you might get what I'm sort of talking about. that, you know, a friend invites you to their birthday party and there goes your no drinking this month out the window. And as soon as it goes out the window, habit suicide, it's hard to get back again. Or you overdo it in the gym, you can barely walk for the next 2 days, like walking down the steps backwards. So you drop the whole gym idea as a bad idea. Or an emotional crisis happens at work or at home, so you quickly default to some retail therapy or any coping, totally blow your spending budget for the month. And so the problem here is we have what is called an on-off mindset. I'm either on or I'm off. And this trains us to sort of start, pause, start, pause, start, pause, start, pause. And if you remember my yo-yo dieting, this is a classic. I'm on, I'm off. I'm on, I'm off. I'm on, I'm off. And habit suicide is what I've talked about here is what happens. You know, if you start doing something and then you stop it for a day, well, okay, good luck. If you stop doing it for 2 days, now you're really in trouble. Now you're starting to look for excuses as to why you haven't done it. And you'll find them if you look for them. If you stop doing it for 3 days, you're out the game. You're back to square one now. And as Brian Johnson says, and he says it best, it's okay to suck when we're trying to change our behaviors, but it's not okay to skip. What matters is consistency. Remember, it's your friend. It's the antidote, right? We want to be consistent. So how do we do that? All right. This tool is from a toolkit, which you'll hear me talk about, called the 8 to Be Great toolkit. It's one of the tools. It's called the Show Up Dial. So what you do is you figure out what's your 1, 5, and 10 on the dial. Now, notice the dial has no 0. There is no 0 on the dial. It doesn't have a 0. It has a 1 to 10. So what you do is you ask yourself the question, you ask yourself a really important question, and that is, what's my minimum that I'm going to do every day? Minimum. And you decide that. That's your 1, that's your good, okay? And then you have your 5, which is better, and then you have your 10, which is best. And so when life throws curveballs, which is going to, you can drop all the way down to a 1 and you make sure. So for example, let me give you an example here. So I want to meditate. I've decided that my 1 is a 1 minute of meditation. My 5 is 10 minutes of meditation, and my 10 is a 20 minutes of meditation. Now my goal is a 20, okay? But if life gets a little bit busy, bit crazy, I'll bring it down to a 5. And if it gets absolutely crazy, I'll bring it down to 1. And if it gets insane, I'll bring it down to 1 breath. That's my meditation done. You see, consistency is key because, yeah, I'm not really going to change much in terms of my brainwave states from 1 deep breath, but I am going to prove to myself that I am the person that will take the action and am someone that meditates. And that's what really matters. Knowing your minimum threshold is how you stay in the game. When you know your good, better, and best commitment, by the way, your brain can release dopamine every single time. And dopamine is what gives us that motivation to keep going because it's a win. So reflect for a second on your behavior, your habit. What would be your good? What's your 1? What would be your better? What would be your 5? And what would be your best? That would be your 10. Right? So now what we do is we have a dial. We don't do the on-off, all or nothing. We do flexibility thinking. We flex based on the day and the context, but we always do something. Look, we always do something. No matter how small, we always do something. And that's the win, because as long as we do more than nothing, we are still in the game. And that is the key. And I have another little post-it note here, and is what it says: progress doesn't require perfect. See, we want to be perfect. Well, I've got to do 20 minutes, but you can't get 20 minutes in. But I need to do 20 minutes. So you'd rather do nothing then, because you can't get your 20 minutes in. You're better to do something. Okay, progress doesn't require perfect. Progress doesn't require perfect. You don't have to do your 10 every single time. Bring it down to a 5, bring it down to a 1, bring it all the way down to whatever, one deep breath in terms of. So hopefully this is making sense to you now. When you look at those 3 strategies, we have got 1, going micro, making sure we bring it all the way down to something that's easy to do. 2, we've got shifting the environment to make it easy to do what we want to do, rather than, one of the things that when I wanted to lose weight was I took all of the bad food out of the house, or my wife did too, got it all out of the house, and we made that agreement that there was nothing in here that I couldn't eat. And that meant then I've got to get in the car to go and buy something. If I want something, I couldn't be bothered. I'll eat the apple, or I'll eat the banana, or I'll eat the almonds instead, because they were more convenient. It was there. It was on the side. It was in the kitchen, so much easier. And then we've got this, this dial up and dial down flexibility based on what's going on. But we always do something. When you do something, you can chalk it off as a win. Consistency is everything. Consistency, as I said, is your friend. If you remain consistent, you'll get there. And that really is what it comes down to. Remember, I said reps equal faster adoption. The more times you can do it, the quicker you get it to an automated behavior. So let's do a quick recap here, right? Of everything. And I want you to tell me, what's your favorite? All right. What is your favorite from everything I've covered? So it's habits that run our life, right? Habits choose our future, and we've got to be able to change our habits. That's fundamental. That's really key. You've discovered 3 subconscious beliefs that cause you to commit habit suicide. You know not to rely on self-control and willpower, because it's a flawed strategy. All right. You know from the past that it doesn't work. You're better off to tweak the environment to make what you want to do easy, so that there's no friction in place. We've got, how to make change now by making the approach micro. Bring it all the way down to something tiny, and then you can increase it. Shift out a sugary drink for some water. Rather than trying to change your whole diet, just start there, right? Start there and see if you can commit to that for a week or 10 days. Then go, right, I'm going to shift something else out now. I'm going to shift that chocolate bar that I have for a protein bar instead. Great. Do that for another 10 days. Now you've got the water, now you've got the protein, and eventually you're going to build momentum. And then we've got flexibility thinking. And this is one of the tools from the 8 to Be Great toolkit that I have called the show up dial, right? So what we do is we develop flexibility thinking, and we adapt based on the day. If life gets crazy, or life gets, I've had individuals, even though they're not well, they've still managed to do something that says I've showed up today. All right. And as Woody Allen said, 80% of success in life is showing up. If we show up, and we show up enough, success is guaranteed. So I want you to now think, okay, about how you can apply whatever number you put down here on the thing that you wanted to change, right? How can you adopt it? Don't be passive now, get into action. Think, right, what could I do? Could I do something today? Could I do something tomorrow to set myself up? Could I grab a pen, draw a dial, like this dial here, and then no 0 on that dial. So what's my 1? What's my 5? What's my 10? What's my good, better, and best, right? So, figure that out. And then, okay, can I now do that today? Could I do a 1 today, at least to get me started? Prove to myself that I can do this. So you get off to the fastest possible start, all right? Start strong is what I say. So now you got a choice, right? Choice is you can do this by yourself. Second choice here is work with me. Let me be your virtual habit coach, and let me show you what you can do in 30 days using the methodology that I've created here. So let's talk a little bit about the 30-day challenge and how it works and why it works. What's the psychology behind it? So I want to show you how to use my methodology, which is called the micro momentum method, to really beat procrastination and now your number 1 habit goal in May. So firstly, why challenges? Well, little top tip here, right? You want to set a beginning and an end date. Typically, we don't do that. We don't think about creating some urgency or something where I want a measurable milestone by the end of it. And there is a couple of compelling reasons why this works. So firstly, it's urgency. The brain doesn't have urgency built in, so we have to manufacture urgency. And one of the ways to do that is to have an end date, because urgency kills procrastination. And when you set an end date, the end of the month you want to achieve something, you have in effect created some urgency. And that's why a 30-day challenge works. Now, secondly, for those of you that are big into self-help, personal development, you've read a lot, seen a lot, you'll know that it can be overwhelming to be in this vast ocean of information. It's like we're drowning in information. So many books, so many webinars, so many podcasts, so many online courses, so many different approaches and theories and programs to follow, so many contradictions and so many opinions that's out there. Plus, this industry attracts a lot of charlatans who, behind the scenes, their life is a complete mess. And I've seen that. And what happened is that it's difficult to know where to start, and we never really get to some kind of conclusion at the end of it, which leaves us feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And so we put off starting for another day, or the next book, or the next podcast, or the next training. Then I'll get round to it. And it's so easy when you're swimming around in this ocean to take one stroke in 20 directions rather than 20 strokes in one direction, which is really what we want to be doing. Plus, it's also a wonderful breeding ground for those 3 subconscious beliefs that cause habit suicide, right? So what we do here is we create, rather than, I want you to think about it like this, rather than thinking about, what you want to do next, think about creating 12 mini experiments over the course of the year. Right? One mini experiment every single month, because you have one 30-day challenge every single month that you set for yourself. So what you do is you zoom out and you think about the year, you think about what you want to achieve, and then you zoom in and you focus on that month and you treat it as an experiment. And if the habit that you've been working on, you really want to keep, you keep. If you don't, you drop it. And that's absolutely fine as well. So what we do is we pick one habit and we master it. I have another little post-it note. One gets done. So you focus on one change for that month. No overwhelming yourself, no trying to change too much, one. And by doing that, firstly, you create a start and finish line. Secondly, you create a consistent schedule for yourself. Think about it, right? You could do the first 3 months, you could focus on 3 different health habits. Then for the second, you could focus on happiness habits. For the third, you could focus on relationship habits. For the fourth, you could focus on business or career habits. Now, of course, that was only an example, but you get the point that over the course of a 12-month period, you will achieve more in 1 year than most people do in a decade if you treat it that way. And this approach also helps us banish the perfectionism monster that we've all got in there. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about making progress, because if something doesn't work, you drop it. It's only 30 days, right? It's just 30 days. That's all it is. And then away you go. And then at the end of the 30 days, we ask 3 questions. What worked well? What did I learn? What will I change for next time? Right? Now, this approach is the approach that I have worked with my clients, and I know absolutely works. As I said, I don't get paid unless they change. So this is what the 30-day habit challenge is really all about. And it's going to start the 2nd of May. You're going to choose one habit. You're going to get access to the Habit Coach app, which has some short videos in there, and take 1 action a day. You get an email from me, 1 action a day. You're going to learn how to use the 8 to Be Great toolkit on your habit, working with me as well. And I'm going to coach you. I mean, that's basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to take everything that I've learned and work with you for the month to get your goal at the end of the month, whatever it is. That's your win, if you like, right? So I want to provide the best support that I possibly can, the advice, the inspiration, and you're going to be in a community of individuals that are going to do this together. Imagine going through this with a lot of individuals at the same time. You're going to be inspired by them. They're going to be cheering you on. They're going to give you the support when you need it. It's just absolutely fantastic. And by the end of the 30 days, you'll have learned to finally stick to your number 1 habit, so that May counts now. You will have learned the micro momentum method, which is the method that I'm going to teach you that I use with my clients, right? So you can follow that same process. Once you understand it, you can follow it, and you can use it to make as many habit changes as you want over the course of the year. And I want to show you how to do this without stress, without struggle, without overwhelm. That's the whole idea. It's going to be fun. It's going to be easy. And to show you how to create that consistency by using these tools. Now, all it's going to cost is £30. That's it. One-time payment, £30 for everything. For everything. That's £1 a day, just £1 a day. Think of what you spend for a coffee. If you buy yourself a coffee, right? £1. Right. What else are you going to get? Here's what you're going to get. 3 things here, right? 1, you're going to get access to Habit Coach app. That's going to be included. So you're going to have me in your pocket. You're going to have bite-sized videos to watch, bite-sized action to take every single day. It's going to be with you all the time. So you're going to have the community in there. You're going to have tracking in there. It's just perfectly set up. Everything that I've learned about science is in this little app here. And I love what Martin put, right? The daily emails are so helpful. They're like having stabilizers on your first bike. Without them, I would have fallen over. These little tiny emails, or these little emails that you get every day, which just give you the action to take today, keep you on the path. That's all you need to do. Open the email, follow the action, job done for the day. You're also going to get an 8-part video course I put together on how to be happy. So if happiness is one of the goals that you've got, you can watch that and then think, what are some of these happiness habits that I want to now include in my life? I wrote a little ebook. You get the ebook, that's in there as well. But you're also going to get, and this is the big biggie, mind power shots. These are going to be included here. Now, I retail these at £197, but I'm going to put them in there for you. These are my sort of premier tools. I designed them for myself and for my clients. You can see lack of clarity. You've got the power to create stress, anxiety. You've got alpha calm. You've got apathy, procrastination. You've got the intention manifester. You put these on, they are, there's isochronic tones built into them. They hemisync your brain, they bliss you out, and I do all the heavy lifting for you. I take you on a guided visualization. It's a vivid sensory visualization that helps you. I'm using NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, everything that I've learned. It's all in there. So you get to keep those, and yes, Phil, for a lifetime. That's it, right? I want to make this a no-brainer for you. This should be an absolute no-brainer, right? That alone should make this an absolute no-brainer in itself. But you're going to get everything, all right? Everything that I've shared. And this deal is going to be around for the next 5 days, all those bundles for the next 5 days, then it's gone, all right? It's out the way. So your transformation, imagine being able to change your bad habits and build new ones in a fast, easy, and fun way for the rest of your life. Once you've learned how to do this and you've become what we call a chief habit hacker, you know, you can do this from then on in. Never struggling with these dream-stealing subconscious beliefs again. We get them out the way. You no longer have to worry about them anymore. And see yourself at the end of May feeling proud, strong, and focused, so that you go into June with momentum. So picture yourself getting measurable results, right? That's really what you're going to get, measurable results, so that your inner belief begins to skyrocket. A few people, you know, that I've put on here, I can't put everybody on one slide, there's too many of these, but, you know, I've got tremendous results from the 30-day challenge. Just have a read of some of those and you'll see. And that's only a very, very small selection of, you know, those that have been through a 30-day challenge. I mean, you can see Danny there, 78 days, 78 days. He's only missed 2 out of 78 days of writing every single day. He had not achieved that. It's unbelievable what he was able to do when he started to apply the micro momentum method and the 8 to be great tools. And look, I'm going to promise you full refund if after the end of 30 days of working with me, you don't feel I have given you at least 10 times the value. Okay, I'm going to give you your money back. No questions asked. You just say, Colin, I want my money back. I'll give you your money back. All right. You've got nothing to lose here. The risk, as always, is on my side. And someone said, well, why are you making me pay? Because if you don't put any skin in the game, then that in itself says you're not that committed. Okay, so you've got to show some kind of commitment, and that's why it's a minimum. I mean, £30 a day for 30 days is nothing, is absolutely nothing. All you got to do is just sign up. We're going to get all the information to you ready. Thank you. Appreciate you've given me your time. Hopefully you've got something from this that's going to make a difference for you. And hopefully I've inspired you to come work with me for the month of May. Let me show you everything that I know about habits and breaking bad ones and building new ones, so that you set yourself up as the chief habit hacker in your life.